This is the 5th day of the September 1980 7-day sesshin. And we will continue reading from the Vasui letters taken from the 3 Pillars of Zen. Today we shall read and comment on letter number 5 to the layman Ippo. You're meeting him face to face. But who is he? The gender here makes no difference. You could say you're meeting it face to face. But what is it? It's not a male god or a female goddess. Anything you say will be wrong. Because where does all this saying come from? From what one already knows. And that's meeting what one knows. And that's not it. And if you hold your tongue, you'll be equally wrong. Holding one's tongue is the action of the me, trying not to say something wrong, because it has an idea of what is wrong and what is right. It's right not to say anything, wrong to say something. So you're meeting the me. Who is he then? On top of a flagpole, a cow gives birth to a calf. If you come to self-realization at this point, you need do nothing further, which is not to be misunderstood. Nothing further for the me to do if there's understanding of the me. And of that which is totally beyond the me. If you cannot come to self-realization at this point, look inward to behold your Buddha nature. Everyone is perfectly endowed with this Buddha nature. Its substance is the same in ordinary human beings as in Buddhas, with not a slightest difference in degree. But because man can't bring himself to believe this, he binds himself to delusion with a rope of unreality by saying, realization of my self-nature is beyond me. It's better that I recite sutras, bow down before Buddhas, and enter the way gradually through the grace of all Buddhas. Most of those who hear this accept it as true. It is as though one blind man were leading many blind men in the wrong direction. Anytime you lead anybody in a direction, it's already the wrong direction. These people do not really believe sutras and Buddhas. On the contrary, they set no store by them. For if they truly accepted them, they would know that merely reciting the sutras is no more than looking at them from the outside and speaking of Buddha, but another way of speaking of the essence of mind. A sutra says, mind, Buddha, and sentient beings, these are not to be discriminated from one another. Accordingly, a man who does not believe in the reality of his own mind but says he believes in Buddha is like one who puts trust in a symbol while spurning the real thing. Is one aware how much one lives by symbols and the emotional boost that symbols give one? The flag. Maybe not people in the Zendo get a boost by the flag. But most human beings do, either by waving one or by burning another countries. This person grew up under almost nothing but flags. And interestingly enough, this one particular flag, which held such a threat in it, threat of life, this red flag with a white dot inside and then this black swastika in it. They also made little candy like that on holidays that you ate. I like those better than the flag. They were sweet. I loved sweets. But this swastika in there, which is actually an ancient symbol, when it turns right ways, like in that German flag, it means creation. When it's turned the other way, which is an ancient Indian, older than that, one of the first symbols that human beings scratched into rock is a swastika. But the other way, turning leftward, which symbolizes turning inward and uncreating. It was quite a shock, a conditioned shock to find that swastika on that black Buddha there, who is veiled right now, right on his chest, a swastika. Why do human beings need symbols? Got a symbol right here in this raksu, a circle. It is said it's one of the few or only symbols in Zen, symbolizing wholeness and completeness. Is a symbol needed for that? Like one who puts trust in a symbol while spurning the real thing. Much simpler to live with symbols than with the real thing. The real thing changes, it needs great adaptability, fluidity of the mind, non-stuckness, whereas a symbol doesn't need all that, it's always the same. One can paint it and adorn it and put it here and there and everywhere. manipulate it. One can manipulate it. How then can he realize his mind if he puts his trust in a symbol? One who wants only to recite sutras is like a hungry man who refuses food offered in the belief that he can allay his hunger by merely looking at the menu or eating the menu. We certainly salivate while looking at one if we're hungry. Each sutra is but a catalogue of the mind nature. Sometimes it's not complete enough a catalogue. It leaves out a lot of the muddy stuff. This Platform Sutra is one of the few sutras who goes into this jealousy, attachment, envy. Really spells them out, and not enough. So that one can see oneself nakedly and be free through understanding oneself, not through slurring over or ignoring or denying or being simply blind to the workings of one's mind and mouth and action. One of the sutras says, the teachings of the sutras are like a finger pointing to the moon. Can the Buddha have intended that you acknowledge the finger and not perceive the moon? Everybody contains within himself the sutras. If you catch even a glimpse of your self-nature, that true self is no self, our own self is no self. It's the same thing as reading and understanding all the sutras simultaneously, none accepted, without so much as holding one in your hand and reading a word. To read oneself from moment to moment, always freshly, not through what one has already read yesterday. It's old, it's over, but freshly, what one reads today. Not thinking I shouldn't be this way because yesterday I was different, so today I should be the same way. Read, see, and in the seeing can one go beyond. Isn't this real sutra reading? Look, that green bamboo grove over yonder is precisely your own mind. And this mass of red flowers is nothing less than the supreme wisdom of the universe. But don't make an idea out of it. This mass of yellow flowers or red flowers is the supreme wisdom of the universe, because the flowers are not the supreme wisdom of the universe. And that mass of green trees is not your mind. In that there is no idea. As for the practice of bowing down before Buddhas, this is merely a way of horizontalizing the mask of ego in order to realize the Buddha nature. And even here, don't kid yourself. It may be a tall ego horizontalizing itself and getting right back up. The mask may even stick up while one is horizontalized. Can be great arrogance in bowing. And utter humility in standing, if there's no idea of humility. Bowing can become just as mechanical, prostrating can become just as mechanical a thing as anything else we do. One isn't even aware one is doing it anymore. And one needn't be. One needn't know what this is. It's just whatever it is. But can there be full awareness into every tip of the finger? Without self-consciousness. I'm doing this. I am horizontalizing the mask of my ego. Must be good for me. People who come in the beginning and they're not yet accustomed to this, they have not developed a habit of it as so many of us have. They have sort of hesitations often about this prostration. And why not? Why shouldn't they? I have certain ideas about it. What it means, that it comes from a different culture. Sees in one's mind eyes these kings sitting on thrones and subjects prostrated flat in front of them, and the king just in all his glory in front of all these prostrated people in front of him. One has no idea, doesn't know what it is, and can one do it not knowing? Every fiber of one's body permeated, irradiated with awareness. No idea of what it is, what it means nothing. Things never mean anything beyond themselves. But in the doing, there's everything, provided there's not a purpose or a use or a merit in mind. Which already cuts into this awareness, casts its shadow. And stiffens the joints somehow or other. To attain Buddhahood, Vasui continues, one must come to self-realization through his own efforts, or her own efforts, no matter what his talents or capabilities may be. No matter what his talents or capabilities. Talents don't matter at all. Unfortunately, most who understand this and practice Zazen begin to dawdle along the way and thus never come to complete realization. And then there are those who take the state of no thoughts and no awareness, where all reflection and all discrimination stop for a time, to be true realization. Others think that it is sufficient Zen practice to remember every single koan. Still others insist that the true way of the Zen devotee is not to violate the precepts, or else to dwell in forests, to escape from the problem of good and evil in the world, while still others maintain That the right way is to vow that there's no truth to be realized, or that there's no other truth to grasp than to drink tea when tea is offered, or eating when food is served, or shouting cuts when asked about Buddhism, or of leaving suddenly with a flourish of the kimono sleeve, pretending to repudiate everything, while calling anyone who practices Zazen seriously and seeks out accomplished Zen masters a bore. To many people, in the middle of a sesshin comes this idea, what in the devil am I doing here? Doesn't make any sense. It's ridiculous. Particularly in a day like this. Wind rustling in the leaves. Gorgeous fall day. What am I doing here? But one may not even think that far, just one is thinking. That's the problem. The I, feeling sort of threatened and cornered, and coming back with infinitely variable cunningness. If such individuals can be called truth seekers, then a child of 3 can be said to understand Zen. Again, there are those who think that one's mental functions have ceased, leaving one like a decayed tree or a cold stone. One has attained no mindness. While others maintain that in the practice of Zen, a decisive point has been reached when one feels a deep void with awareness of neither inner nor outer, the entire body having become shining, transparent, and clear like a blue sky on a bright day. In other words, no body. There's clarity and a good feeling that goes with it. Ah, now I got something. How good it feels, and may it last forever. Or when it's gone, what did I do to bring that about? And searching in the files. Which, of course, is the end of all transparency. These states come on their own, you know. Don't ever think, what did I do? They came because you did nothing. Me was in abeyance. This last appears when the true nature begins to manifest itself, but it cannot be called genuine self-realization. Zen masters of old would call it the deep pit of pseudo-emancipation. Those who reach this stage, believing they have no more problems in Buddhism, behave haughtily through lack of wisdom, engage eagerly in debates on religion, taking delight in cornering their opponents, but becoming angry when cornered themselves. This must be just, if this is a one-time experience, because at this moment of transparency, of clarity, why would there be any opponents? Why would there be any lack in argument? Such thoughts would not arise. One has experienced it once briefly, and now one has got something to refer to. Looking in the back view mirror, as one said. McLuhan says that. We live always looking into the back view mirror. He says we're looking into Bonanza land. It was at the time of the height of Bonanza. And I understand people are still enthralled by watching the repeats of that. Always looking back. They appear perpetually discontented while no longer believing in the law of causation, go about telling jokes in a loud jabbering voice, deliberately disturb and ridicule those who study and strive earnestly, calling them clods whose practice is not Zen. This is as though a lunatic were to laugh at a sane person. The conceit of these idiots knows no bounds, and they fall into hell as quick as an arrow. The first patriarch, Bodhidharma, said, "One who thinks only that everything is void, but is ignorant of the law of causation, falls into everlasting pitch-black hell." One who thinks that everything is void. Makes a concept out of it, a formula, an axiom or something like that. Falls into everlasting pitch black hell. That's a threat. There's no everlasting hell. That's a teaching, the very teaching of Buddhism. Nothing is everlasting. Always needing to threaten with something. One observes how one lives. One doesn't need to be threatened with pitch black hell. One realizes the straitjacket in which one lives. The sorrow and the suffering of this world, the cries of this world, the ignorance of it. What is darker than that? What is more hell than that? These would-be teachers sometimes sound like Zen masters, but they are unable to free themselves of their delusive feelings and perceptions. Most beginners mistake the barest manifestation of truth for self-realization. An ancient master, Rinzai, said, "The body of the true nature and the ground of the true nature, these I know for certain are shadows," that is, concepts, if they are concepts. You must find a subject that casts the shadows. It is the very source of all Buddhas. What's he talking about here? The me that casts the shadow, or the source of the me? What is the source of all Buddhas? Bankei, who speaks about the unborn and the uncreated, says when you speak about Buddha, you only speak about what has been born. Certain people say, Basui continues, in the practice and study of Zen, we acquire various ideas about it. Footnote says that is conceptions about Satori, Mu, emptiness, and so forth. How true it is. And such notions we are told are kind of mind illness. For that reason, self-realization through Zen is difficult. But what if we don't realize our self-nature or understand the truth through reading the sutras? Need we fear retribution if we don't sin? What if we never attain Buddhahood? As long as we don't tread the three evil paths, why need we strive for Buddhahood? Three evil paths, hellish paths, paths of demons or animals. Answer. The source of all sin is delusion. As we say, the cause of our sorrow is ego, delusion. Without self-realization, it can't be destroyed. This fire of awareness in which delusions burn, melt, shrivel. In the bodies of human beings, Basui continues, are 6 sense roots, in each of which lurks a seducer. Footnote here says, our sense impressions are called seducers because until we have learned to control our minds and realize the truth, we are prey to their never-ceasing seductions, to their efforts to tempt us away from our true nature through alluring sights, sounds, and other distractions. Greed, anger, and folly are the inevitable outcome of attachment to the objects of the senses. This is where the crux lies, not the sounds, or smells, or sights, but the attachment to them. When craving comes in, it's just the hearing and no more. Where is the seduction, tell me? But if there's a clutching, a holding on, a wanting it again, or a not wanting it, a hating it, trying to get rid of it or trying to keep it, sensing, hearing, seeing can be completely innocent. It's when the mind of the me, the brain, steps in with all its stored programs. I need this, I want this, I don't like it, it reminds me of such and such. And there's trouble. And if there's unawareness of this process, then there's trouble. Because one is under the power, the influence, the compulsion of it. These 6 seducers, Basui continues, each carry 3 kinds of poison: greed, anger, and folly. Why just 3? There are many more. But if one sees one completely, then one sees them all. There are no human beings free from these poisons. We'll omit the number. They are the causes of which the 3 evil paths are the effect. Necessarily, the effects flow from the causes. One who says, I'm free of sin, is ignorant of this law. It's not that he's ignorant of the law, he's ignorant of what's going on in himself. Expressing it as a law is still too remote, then one can't get a hold of it. Ignorant of what's going on in the mind. Consciously, subconsciously, and deeply. Can all this be brought into awareness? Not that one now starts after this stage to psychoanalyze oneself. It's not called for. Things come up. They can be seen at an instant, at a glance. And all that comes in its wake, all these feelings and emotions, whatever are the physical manifestations of it, moo or hoo, to let that energy flow together without any labeling or analyzing or diagnosing. At that instant, one is just that. What is one? Moo-hoo. No knowledge to come in between. No seeing through old, knowledgeable eyes, or hearing through old, knowledgeable ears. Moo-hoo. That's not knowledgeable. That's not knowing. In that there can be great innocency. If there's no fear to meet up with whatever dawns on the path. Totally. Uncompromisingly and unconditionally. Even one who commits no sin in this life has these poisons a priori. This brain is as old, one can't say as old as what, because every year the date is pushed farther back. Earlier and earlier and earlier specimens are being found. Used to be 600,000 years, now I think it's in the millions. In Buddhism called the storehouse consciousness. Alaya Vijnana. Brain is more familiar and intimate, even though one is not familiar and intimate with it. One is more familiar and intimate with computers than with this computer here. What then of those who add new transgressions? Question. If all human beings are heir to these three poisons, poison is still, well, poison, yeah, it's poison. But in seeing it, there must be no judgment, or else the seeing is distorted. No word, just whatever there comes up. And if it's been pointed out time and time and again, there will be an awareness of it, and there will be the possibility of freedom from it, through seeing, through awareness, through understanding, in which there is no self-deceit or self-kidding or pretenses of what one is or would like to be in the eyes of others or one's own eyes, which have been so heavily conditioned by the eyes of others, the older, the parents, the teachers. If all human beings are heir to these three poisons, is it correct to say that even Buddhas, patriarchs, and holy sages cannot avoid treading the three evil paths? Answer. When one realizes his self-nature, the three poisons are transmuted in such a way that greedy actions turn into observance of the precepts, anger into mind stability, folly into wisdom. At that instant, I would not assume anything beyond that, certainly not for myself. And not about anybody else. What use is it to know that in the Buddha and the patriarch there's no anger, greed, and folly? Does it help me to see my anger, greed, and folly? Does it? Find out. That's all that matters, to see within oneself. Come to realization within oneself. Not to wonder how it is with all the others. Buddhas, patriarchs, and holy sages are all enlightened. So how could they possibly sin? That is, act with greed, anger, or folly. There's a second koan in the Mumonkan called Hyakujo's Fox, in which an abbot of a monastery is asked, does the enlightened man still fall under causation? Or like here, does he still sin? Or have the three poisons? Abbot says, no. The enlightened man does not fall under causation. For which, so Hyakujo tells his monks, he had to be reborn for 500 years as a fox. A fox spirit in Zen usually referring to someone who speaks from theory, from ideas, cleverly. So then finally, when this fox appeared before Hyakujo, he had this ability to turn into a man. Hyakujo made up a beautiful story. He asked him, please release me from this life of a fox. He'd had it. And Hyakujo said, the enlightened man does not ignore the law of causation, at which this fox man had a deep awakening. Here, Basui says, patriarchs, holy sages are all enlightened, so how could they possibly sin? Hyakujo says, they do not ignore, which means attention, 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 awareness. Because they too have that brain. Even though at times it seems that in awareness, things are erased. Things can be erased. Tapes can be erased. It's quite a miraculous thing. Maybe complete enlightenment means complete erasure. This great master Hyakujo, one of the greatest there in the Tang period, says he does not ignore. Which means one is walking a razor's edge, attentively. Not to get stuck in any kind of complacency or newfangled imagery about oneself. question. Granting that through enlightenment the three poisons are transmuted in such a way that greedy action turn into observance of the precepts, anger into mind stability, and folly into wisdom, how can one rid the mind of the malady of delusion? The ego delusion being at the base of these, at the source of these poisons, the sense of me and my concerns, my satisfaction, my gratification, my this and that. With that going, what's not mine, that I care less about. Answer. Realization of the self-nature is the sole cure for all mind illness. Realization of the self-nature, seeing into it completely. Do not rely on any other remedy. Have I not already quoted to you, find a subject which casts the shadows. It is the very source of all Buddhas. Your Buddha nature is like the jewel sword of the Vajra king. Whoever touches it is killed. Or whatever it touches dissolves, disintegrates, it disappears. It's a sword of prajna, wisdom. Prajna being the clear action coming out of clear seeing, the clear seeing being the clear action. They're not being two. Your Buddha nature is like the jewel sword, diamond. The jewel is the diamond which cuts everything but cannot be cut. Of the Vajra king, Vajra meaning diamond. Whoever touches it is killed. The me. Footnote here. Compare with this statement attributed to God in the Old Testament. For there shall be no man see me and live. Which doesn't mean the whole man dies. It's the ideas and notions of oneself that disappear. Maybe just for an instant. It depends. It's different with different people. And for different people at different times. And yet the seeing is not in time. The seeing to one's true self is not in time. Because time is thinking. Yesterday, what I did. Tomorrow, what I'm going to do. Today, what I hope will happen. This is thinking. Thinking dividing what is indivisible into time. And living in this construct. Or it is like a massive raging fire. Everything within reach loses its life. Raging fire, raging energy. Once you realize the true nature, all evil bent of mind arising from karma, extending over innumerable years past, is instantly annihilated, like snow put into a roaring furnace. One true samadhi extinguishes evils, it nullifies karma. Because then there's no connection with it. And it is awareness that keeps this connection severed. If there's inattention, zingo, there it is. The associations are back. No thought of Buddha or truth remains. No thought of Buddha or truth remains. How then can any mind illness persist? Why can't the karmically begotten delusions and the manifold discriminative thoughts and notions of the unenlightened mind be quelled? Simply because true self-realization has not taken place. You can no more stop yourself from being driven within the 6 realms of ceaseless change without first realizing your self-nature than you can stop water from boiling without quenching the fire beneath it. Fortunately, you believe there is a truth especially transmitted outside the scriptures and scholastic teachings. Then why bother about the meaning of these scriptures? This layman Ippo must have had a lot of questions about scriptures, we can assume from this reply. Renounce forthwith all such reflections and see the Master directly. What is the Master who at this very moment is seeing and hearing? If you reply as most do that it is mind or nature or Buddha or one's face before birth or one's original home or koan, or being, or nothingness, or emptiness, or form and color, or the known or the unknown. People must have banged around a lot of concepts in those times. Maybe we're still doing it today. We're not doing it so much here, I don't think. Or truth, or delusion, or say something, or remain silent, or regard it as enlightenment, or regard it as ignorance, you fall into error at once. What is more, if you're so foolhardy as to doubt the reality of this Master, or the truth of this Master, you bind yourself through though you use no rope. However much you try to know it through logical reasoning, or to name it or call it, you're doomed to failure. And even though all of you becomes one mass of questioning, as you turn inward and intently search the very core of your being, you'll find nothing that can be termed mind or essence. Yet should someone call your name, something from within will hear and respond. Find out this instant who it is. If you push forward with your last ounce of strength, at the very point where the path of your thinking has been blocked, and then completely stymied, leap with hands high in the air into the tremendous abyss of fire confronting you, or nothingness confronting you, not knowing confronting you. All ego consciousness, all delusive feelings and thoughts and perceptions will perish with your ego root. And the true source of your self-nature will appear because it is there. You will feel resurrected, all sickness having vanished. Experience genuine peace and joy. For the first time you will realize that walking on water is like walking on ground. Walking on ground is like walking on water or on air. That all day long there is speaking yet no word is ever spoken. Throughout the day there's walking, yet no step is ever taken. That while the clouds are rising over the southern mountain, the rain is falling over the northern range. Sitting alone in a 10-foot square room, you meet all the Buddhas of the 10 quarters. That without seeing a word, you read more than 7,000 volumes of the sutras. That though you acquire all the merits and virtues of good actions, yet in fact, there are none. Do you want to know what this mind is? The layman Ho asked Baso, what is it that transcends all things in the universe? And Baso replied, I'll tell you. After you've swallowed up all the waters in the West River in one gulp, upon hearing this, Ho became deeply enlightened. Now, how do you swallow all the water of the West River in one gulp? In one moo? Or one who? Or one? Can you do it? Can you do it? Forget about the river. Forget about swallowing. Moo, who? What is this one mind? We'll stop here for today.